Late Friday, the National Hurricane Center announced Hurricane Matthew had strengthened to a Category 4 storm. A hurricane watch has been issued for Jamaica, and the U.S. Embassy in Cuba has issued an alert for Americans in that country. Chief Meteorologist for our CBS station in Miami, WFOR, Craig Setzer, is tracking the storm.
It's been a pretty remarkable 24 hours, and a part of the Caribbean known as the graveyard for hurricanes. Matthew has not only survived, but actually strengthened quite rapidly. In fact, it's Category 4 as of Friday evening. 24 hours prior, it was only Category 1, 80-mile-an-hour winds, now winds up to 140 miles an hour. It's moving to the west-southwest at 9. This slower speed we see is good because it's eventually going to have to make a turn to the north, and without going further to the west, it's less likely to be a major impact to Florida. It's not out of the question yet. It's certainly something we'll be watching through the weekend, but definitely Jamaica under the gun. The time frame here is Monday, eastern Cuba Monday night and Tuesday, into the Bahamas on Wednesday, and really a beam with South Florida by Wednesday afternoon. Now remember, the cone tracks where the center is expected to be about 2/3 of the time. So if it goes further to the left over here, it wouldn't be surprising. And of course, the impacts would be felt more locally in South Florida. One of the ways that we look at the possibility of tropical storm force winds, it's called wind force probability, literally the percentage chance that we would see tropical storm force winds. Numbers above about 40% are significant, and these numbers have been going up quite significantly. And Vlad, the storm, even though it's very intense, is relatively small, so that's probably a good thing because it's not covering a tremendous amount of real estate here, but as you can see by the satellite images, it is looking quite powerful, with that eye now becoming very apparent.
Craig, we've been talking about this storm for a couple of days now. It seems to me at least that the storm got very intense very quickly. Is that unusual?
It did. It's unusual in this part of the Atlantic basin, the Caribbean, where storms are usually impacted by shear and wind coming off of South America there. But this one has kind of actually contracted and strengthened, much in the way we describe a figure skater pulling their arms in and spinning faster and faster. It's kind of isolated and protected itself. And small storms like this can spin up and increase in intensity quite rapidly. And that has certainly been the case here.
And right now, it looks like the storm is hammering parts of the Caribbean. When is the last time this area saw such an intense hurricane?
It's been a while. We have to look way back into the record books. In fact, here is a chart of some of the most recent storms. The big one that impacted Jamaica. Now here is the cone for Matthew there, but the last big one that impacted Jamaica, that was in 1988. Gilbert went right across the island, quite destructive. And of course, we've had Felix, and also we had Ivan. That was in 2004. So we have to look a ways back to see the history of the storms.
All right, Craig Setzer in Miami for us tonight. Thank you, Craig.